Welcome to this episode of Coffee with Jim and James. Before we bring our guest in, James, I barely have seen you at all lately. Maybe
I know we went back to back weeks. It seemed like live at events, and then here we are now, just in these little boxes again.
it's a little different for me, but that's all right. This is the world that we live in right now, and we embrace it. So, with no further ado, I think we should bring our guests in to help get this PSMS episode on.
Look at his shirt. Look at Steven's shirt.
I know.
Repping it.
Down the fort.
I'm repping.
Oh, he was saving that one for today.
Well, I've worn it a couple of occasions, but
Stephen, please introduce yourself if you would. Go ahead, James. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So thanks again for the opportunity to come on the show. So my name is Stephen Wazorek, and let's see, I've been in the utility industry for 14 years now. I actually work for an operator, an LDC out of the Washington, D.C. area, and we serve about 1.2 million customers. And I manage the QMS, our quality management system, mostly over our construction and operations areas. And I love PSMS. So really, that's it. I mean, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Oh,
it's Ashley's turn now.
Well, my name's Ashley Donini, and I am currently the founder and principal of Lola Link Consulting. Lola is named after my first daughter, Lola, and since then I've had another, Layla, so shout out to the second. But we are in the utilities and energy space, and really our focus is coming along in industry stakeholders, helping them build strategies, whether you're a utility company or you're a service provider, or even a technology product company, and coming in, helping you develop the strategy, and then really linking it to the operational fibers of the industry or of your business. So that's kind of where we're at. But I started actually unplanned, unconventional. I was an undergrad in college. I wanted to shift from 4 part-time jobs to 1 to go to night school. And I was desperate for any part-time job. So I ended up meeting one of my dear friends at a gas station at 11 o'clock at night to pop my resume on the desk of the director at the Virginia State Corporation Commission that next morning. And we joke now, like, well, he had to give me a shot at that point. So I found myself writing testimony for the state, and then fell in love with the business, and have done and been blessed with a lot of different roles, mostly on kind of the bleeding edge space, which pipeline safety management systems is, and just helping people wrap their minds around what it is, what it isn't, and how to drive value from that. So yeah, and I spent some time with NiSource, and helped in a lot of different capacities, from gas operations and construction to technology and other kind of key strategic things and projects for the organization. And then COVID hit, and I decided to start my own business. So here we are.
James, I don't think we
have some friends over at NiSource.
Oh
yeah, we probably know similar friends. Yeah, small world in the business.
Yeah,
for sure.
Sure is.
James, can I ask you a question? Have we ever had a origin story that started in a gas station at 11 p.m.
Nah, that probably not.
Not yet. Well, we have now.
Boom.
Pop that cherry. Yeah.
The books. Well, welcome everybody.
You know, I'll tell you, Jimmy, I am a little concerned. I have 2 people so obsessed with quality on here while my internet's acting the way it is, and we had the pre-show where
it's not obsession, it's just commitment.
Continuous improvement, you know?
Yeah.
Right. That's
the
right.
lifestyle that we
you're gonna get better. if we can help you with that, we're perfectly happy to.
I need another bucket of internet. I
Well,
think.
you know, when we're connecting people from around the country, James, this is the world we live in, brother. We're okay. We're all right.
For
Be
sure.
all right. Deep breaths.
Yeah.
Jimmy, I don't know if you remember, but this whole conversation started. I'll let you tell the story, but really on a not the I guess the larger idea of the episode a few weeks ago when we were on a call with Jeff Weiss.
Well, and even
Do you remember
before that with
talking about
Steve Allen, you know,
Mhm.
James and I we were talking with Steve Allen, who everybody knows, loves, and adores. And we're talking with Steve, and Steve loves to tell stories. You think I like to tell stories?
He's
yeah.
great at it too.
He is
Oh,
good
No,
storyteller.
he's got great stories.
Beautiful at it. And we're going on, and whose name comes up but Stevens. And you know, we're connecting the dots.
Nobody could say his last name though, but we
Nah,
all knew
that's
what we
all
were
right.
talking about.
By now, yeah.
Stephen W. Stephen W. That's
Right.
how we do it. And
That's
then we had Jeff Weiss on last week or the week before, and we're talking, and whose names come up on that one from him is Stephen and Ashley. And
Oh,
we're like,
wow.
this is all coming together. And actually, you know, before in the pre-show, we're talking about when Stephen and I met in New Orleans at the AGA in the spring, and we talked a little bit about then and the importance of PSMS. And really, where it began, when we were talking about, one of the first things we talked about is because I joined the LinkedIn PSMS group. And again, I'm still on my PSMS journey. I love it and adore it. But
Obviously.
thank you. And we just kept going on. So I think, you know, James and I were talking to be apropos one, really to really, you know, kind of peel that back a little bit to understand about the PSMS group on LinkedIn. And I think you have over 1,000 members right now. Is that correct?
Yeah.
So it's like 1,076 or somewhere around there. Yeah.
Precision matters.
Yeah.
How did that
Yeah.
begin? I mean, what was the, I mean, did you
We
guys
celebrate every member.
Yeah. So how did it start?
Yeah.
So I was in my company. I was managing QMS. I would say, and I mean, a self-appointed. I'm kind of was the first operational person that was close to PSMS, right? So I was there in the beginning, as far as, you know, when they started shopping around the pilot. You know, I was in working groups within AGA and all the, you know, GTI projects and all that sort of thing. And we started to, you know, conduct our assessments and our gap analysis and analyses and all that. And I just noticed, having been part of those groups, that you know, it seemed to be that people were taking that information and they were going back to their corners, right, and kind of talking amongst themselves, but it got really quiet. And the other thing I noticed is that, you know, I'm all about inclusion. So I'm particularly sensitive to making sure that there's enough people involved in the conversation that are at the heart of the matter, right? And so there's a lot of stakeholders, from your executives all the way down to the person that's in the hole, you know, twisting pipe, you know, welding up, you know, seams, doing everything. And so I wanted to create an inclusive platform for, you know, where anybody could really come in and talk. And so I just finally, I don't know how long I've been thinking about it, but I finally pulled the trigger in February of 2018. The first year was a total mess, because it was like I was just sending messages out into a black hole. Like, seriously,
So,
I wasn't sure if I was going to continue into 2019. And it was that depressing. And I came across a bit of information from an influencer in the media world. And he actually had said, when he started his YouTube, it was probably James, when he started his YouTube channel, he went an entire year and nothing happened. Like, he wasn't getting any sort of traction. And he said it finally just clicked. People started catching on. And I said, you know what? I will give it like a full year, right, into 2019, and I'll just keep going and I'll see what happens. And you know, timing is everything sometimes. You know, it happened to be that in the spring, the AGA finally came out, issued an executive order saying that all of their operator members would be on the path within the next 3 years And at the same time, plug to EWN, Steve Allen and I connected because he was, when we were in New Orleans, I referred to him as like one of the OGs, and he thought I was just calling him old. The he's like, what? Why am a what? And so really he was out there already, as you probably know, he was already out there talking about it at conferences, and he was mentioning the group. And so between him mentioning the group and that trigger point of AGA issuing that statement, people started looking around for other ways to get involved. And so it just happened. And that March, I actually said, well, why don't we move this to conference calls? So I started a conference line. We just started getting on audio calls, and we did that through the year. And then right up before COVID hit, I said, we should probably move to video because the platforms were kind of increasing. And oddly enough, it was going to have to happen anyway, right? Because we certainly weren't going to meet in person. So we moved to video conferencing, and then our presentations, so like month-to-month stuff, really kind of took off then. So we had some, obviously I leveraged Jeff and Steve as much as I could, because honestly, that's the nature of the game, is trying to use as many of those resources as possible. And I had like Linda Doherty on to speak, who was assistant administrator at PHMSA at the time. And so I had a few of those and huge successes, and then it just kind of started to grow. Ashley, and she can tell her story. I reached out for help in 21? Yeah, it was last year. And I said, look, I want to scale this, and I know there's no other way I can do it but to actually start to get people to help me out. And I desperately put out the call. Like, I was like, please, can someone, like I needed someone to really help. And I needed, fresh ideas, and I just needed new perspectives, and Ashley answered the call. And obviously that was a huge win. So
Ashley, is that really how it happened?
Yeah. Give us the dirt. Give us the
please
gas station at 11:30 p.m. version.
Oh.
Yeah.
No, he said it right. I think it was also like we were talking about maybe even a presentation, and the more that I listened, the more I felt like I could help in a different capacity more. Yeah, I've been blessed ever since to meet Stephen and help with the growth. And we recently hit a major milestone, so that's exciting. And yeah.
And that's
passing 1,000.
That's the 1,000 membership.
That's awesome.
And this year we've really just been focused on really just structuring the channels by which people can get value from it. And we've launched the PS Mess Table, which is a monthly reoccurring type of event where we've seriesed it out for 4 series. We're in the middle of our Key Tools series, which is really focused on what's out there, what exists that people can tap into to help them in their journey. And we've pulled in from resources outside of industry as well, because we definitely have rich expertise within industry, but we're not the first to go down this path. So external perspective really has helped us. We had Tim Hightower, a former NFL player who now works for the Washington Commanders in an executive role, come and talk about the power of conditioning, that mindset. Those types of qualities are so transferable when it comes to safety culture and risk assessment, and the type of foundation that you need to have to launch something like an SMS system. So it's been really exciting and a rich opportunity to grow and learn myself. So yeah.
When I heard LinkedIn group, so you got to understand, I hear it through Steve Allen, right? He comes back, he's excited about a LinkedIn group. And I'm like, listen, Steve, I've been a part of a lot of LinkedIn groups. And usually it's just an echo chamber or people just spamming you with stuff, right? I mean, you all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
all are a part of the Pipeliners of America or something,
Right.
out there. That's a group that started a long time ago. That's not the crickets in there. So when I joined myself and started to kind of look around, I was surprised, like you said, the calls. Well, is it monthly? I'm sorry. Is it
Yeah.
monthly? Still?
Monthly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So monthly calls, things like that. And then I kind of wrapped my brain. Y'all have hit on several things. What else out there are y'all doing? What other kind of impacts and positive influence are happening, as a byproduct or a product out of it?
You want to talk about the exchange, Stephen? We just
y-
launched the practice exchange, and that's a subgroup. And
Yeah, I'll mention just first. I'll mention that really, I think we've kind of fostered over the years. We've fostered this area where people can come in and they can interact over whether it's a success or a challenge or something that they're faced. Right, they're trying to figure out what are we trying to solve here. Whatever the problem is, and then they can go off. Right, because I've had people that I'm part of groups, and so is Ashley, and they, we may have a call, an AGA call, and then they'll reach out separately because they know about the group, and they'll say, hey, and so there's a slightly different dialogue sometimes, right? Because they're not on, recording with all other people. And so there's a lot of that. And I think we encourage that, which is come in. If you want to take, your business or whatever offline, it's all great. Because I think that we're really there to kind of foster those connections and that collaborative effort to really help across the industry, no matter what you're trying to do. And so if they're not interested in necessarily what we have to say, they can always just look in through the group, notice that someone is in the group and say, hey, wait a minute, they actually deal with this. Maybe I can reach out to them and see if we can just talk one-on-one. So there's that in a broad sense. But yeah, Ashley, why don't you talk about the exchange? Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, sure. So, besides kind of what we are calling the PSMS table, and that really we call it the table because it's very much like what Stephen was mentioning. It's a come as you are. That's kind of the beauty of our group, is that you don't have to be an executive at a company to have a seat at the table. You don't have to even know about pipeline safety management system to come and be fed. The dinner table is, and our homes often are where a lot of conversation and relationships get built. So that's why we call it a PSMS table, but that's not the only channel. So we just launched our practice exchange, an industry, having sat at with many hats and many seats at many tables. Stephen's referencing like this practice sharing. It's an uncomfortable place at times for industry. And there's many good reasons why, but we've got to get past that. And so this practice exchange, have you guys ever watched the show, The Shark Tank?
Yes.
Okay. So it's like that it's built upon similar concept, that we have an industry panel of just expertise. In fact, Steve Allen is part of that. Jeff Weiss is part of that. We're getting ready to showcase this diverse spectrum of expertise across industry that is going to serve this membership. And say you have a practice, or you're getting ready to launch a practice, and you want a set of diverse eyes from different backgrounds, different competencies, like the sharks, to give you really perspective and round you out. That's really what this is about. It's about kind of changing the way in which we exchange information, and really, creating a space of comfortability, space of security as an industry, for industry, to share some of that information without having to get to the nth degree of your decimal point on risk, and your risk register. But you can still have a really robust, rich conversation without showing all your cards and putting your company or yourself in a really vulnerable position. So that's really kind of what the practice exchange is all about. We'll be holding them quarterly. We'll be calling for exchanges, and just really excited about the momentum behind the subgroup. So
Actually, is there a podcasting, practice that maybe Jim and I could be SMEs on? I'm just wondering. I'm
Hey,
workshop
never
that a
say
little bit.
never. Never say never, James.
Yeah, I mean, you should. I mean, I know we're
Yeah.
still kind of talking about next year for sure, but
Yeah,
we should
strategy.
schedule you out because
We'll workshop that. We'll workshop it.
That sounds
You got
great.
an idea? You got an idea,
It
Jay?
does sound cool.
we're all
I
after the same
kid.
thing.
Obviously, I'm joking about it, but that sounds awesome. And the more I learn, and the more I talk to, and I was going to say I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. I think Steve Allen and Jeff Weiss would be so proud of how many times we've dropped their names already.
I
You know,
know,
The
right?
check is in the mail, right?
No
Geez.
big deal.
Well, there's some
Love it.
there's some other household names.
Yeah, there's
I'd
there's
say
a lot that you're gonna notice. yeah.
Lauren Anderson, Amy Willis, Graham Emerson. You know,
Oh,
it's
Ashley.
a lot of-
Shout out.
yeah.
Go ahead. Continue.
Yeah.
Name all 1,000
let's see.
members.
Oh gosh, James Upton,
Yeah,
Jim Francis.
you know,
I'm
Jim.
gonna forget.
Friend
I'm
of
gonna
the show.
forget
Jim.
someone. So I hate to like start name
No.
dropping.
Yeah, we better stop.
Trust
We,
me.
But it's
I know the feeling.
super rich of talent and diversity, which I think is diversity of thought, diversity of experience. It's
Yeah.
critical in our industry, and it's just we want the panel to reflect that.
And that's wonderful. And as I sit here listening to the stories, that's what I think about what's so great about our industry is that when people get together for collaboration, for doing things better, safer, in taking those aspects first and foremost, a lot of those corporate walls come down. And I'm not saying anything bad. I'm just saying that if somebody has a better way to do something, they're not afraid to share that so somebody else can be safer. It doesn't matter what uniform
Yeah.
they're wearing or where they're located. Everybody that really embraces that thinks about safety and safety first. And I love that about our industry.
I gotta give a shout out. I do have to name drop if you guys don't mind.
Go ahead.
please,
two
we're in the
leads-
spirit.
So
As
the
long as
two
it's not
leads
another
for this
podcast.
exchange are David Toth and David Spangler. So when we think about pipeline safety management systems, I know we've been focusing as an industry heavily on the operating community, which is really important. I often say it's when the oxygen mask drops, you kind of are taking care of yourself first before you pivot. But the contracting community cannot be forgotten. And I'm
Mhm.
really excited that we actually have David Spangler too, who's part of MERS, who represents the contracting community, and they're leading this exchange. It's not Stephen and I. We're just kind of, helping guide and point the North Star, but this team's really gonna bring it to life. So it's cool to see.
See, that's wonderful. I love all that. And we at Energy World that, we're passionate about safety. We're passionate about education. We're passionate about having people be the best that they can be. And I'll tell you, when you look at some of the players within our organization, the Steve Allens, the Brian Dressels, the Kelsey Klinglers, I mean, those types. I mean, I remember my getting onto the PSMS journey actually was with Steve Allen for myself before he started with us, and I needed help. I was given a presentation in Vegas, and I remember the biggest thing that he told me, he was like, Jimmy, he goes, the biggest thing with PSMS, he goes, it's a journey, not a destination. You never finish it. Because I initially had that mindset, like, what do we need to do to get it complete? Check it off.
Yeah.
No, it
Need a
never ends.
checkbox.
It's from top to bottom, CEO all the way through the organization, side to side. Everybody has to embrace it. Everybody has a piece to it that they bring. And then when you take all those pieces and you form them together, he goes, there you have a PSMS journey and plan and program. And that was wonderful. But I tell you, I think a lot of our audiences are probably asking the same thing. I think a lot of us have been aware of PSMS. I think we're embracing it. But I think we look to leaders like you both as to, what's next? What's coming down the road for us? Anything new, exciting, different, things we need to be aware of? This is the time to, if you're going to peel back the onion a little bit and show us something,
Yeah.
it'll just be amongst the four of us. So don't worry.
And a couple of viewers. Yeah.
Couple of viewers.
Yeah.
I mean, just from the operator's standpoint, I know that, in addition to our own journey, engaging our contractors. I mean, I know Ashley's focused on that as well, but really just kind of spreading that engagement, through the contracting community, but particularly for an operator is important, because there's it needs to be there. We need to find those synergies, right, between all the groups, what they're doing. And of course, some of the challenges are that they're often, if these are large contractors, they're supporting other operators as well. So
Yep.
that's where this collaboration and community of kind of sharing information and exchange really comes in, is because it's a journey, but it's not necessarily an easy one for some of the more complex operations, right? To bring a management system together to actually try to fine tune everything.
Yeah.
I know Ashley's.
A mentor of mine, Jim Howe, he always reminds me it's a way of doing business. And I think it's really causing industry to really think about how you're conducting business. And then you pair that with industry paradigm shifts that we're seeing in safety around human fallibility and culture and failure capacity, like capacity models. And then the construction dynamics, these power dynamics between contractors and owner operators shifting to this real, more robust conversation that incorporates price realism, for example. And this is all really nothing but tailwinds for pipeline safety management systems. So I see just it getting more and more amplified. And because of that, not just a focus on contractors and framework, which we've been all probably working feverishly around, but operational technologies that enable pipeline safety management systems. So I think of what are some tools and technologies around management of change? How do you start to measure change fatigue in ways that we've never traditionally done? Or how do you know that one change is being evaluated around its impact across all these series of other changes that might be being prepared or already taking place? So I can see an example of, operational technologies in a lot of different spaces to enable. I think you're going to see that through product development for sure.
You're speaking my language.
Yeah.
When I think about all the data opportunities there, right, we're seeing a huge movement in AI, machine vision, machine learning. And I think of all the the possibilities out there when we kind of sick this technology on some of our problems with the amount of sheer data that we have. I'm really, really looking forward to some of those things that come out of this. I love it. There's something we do with all of our guests, and you two are no different. Okay?
You're scaring me.
Oh boy.
It's fine. It's
I got-
fine. No, so I'll let y'all decide who's going to go first.
Steven.
Ladies first.
Oh, wow.
You
Ladies
can't
first
tell
it
we work
is.
together a lot,
Yes.
can you?
So ladies
Yeah.
first, you get to
Oh,
choose
great.
actually who goes first.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yes. I'll go first.
Oh,
Oh,
Why not?
what a leader.
she's not scared. She's not.
Yeah, I like it. All right, Ashley.
Well, I don't know about that.
We ask everybody a question. It's kind of something that we live by. It's kind of what our show's based on too, and that's that we do have this platform and we do have this opportunity. And what would you, if you have the floor, which you do, what do you want to leave everybody with? Like, if you can't, you want to give it all away, you can't take it with you when you're gone. What would you want to leave folks with? No big deal.
Just to stay humble and kind. I mean, I think in today's environment, really, there's a lot of pressure that everyone's under, and sometimes you just can't see that pressure. And you're certainly not able to walk in other people's shoes. And so I've certainly found myself in unkind situations through a really tough period in life. And behind the curtain, you know, in front of it, you would have never seen it, but behind the curtain, it's going on. And so, you know, kind doesn't mean, you know, rolling over and, you know, going against your value system, but there is a delivery in the how. And just to, you know, make sure that you keep that in your approach, because life is just so much bigger than that one task or that one moment where you feel kind of on edge to, you know, that human flesh side of you may get at you. So that's what I would just offer is, you know, in the grand scheme of life, does that unkindness really matter? Not really, but that kind moment will to somebody.
Yeah.
So I guess that would be like what I would say I can't take with me, but I would hope that at least my daughters would learn that from me. So yeah. Okay.
That's wonderful. I love that. That's great. Now,
she took
now you have to
she
follow.
took mine. Wait a minute.
Oh,
Oh,
you
did you
should've went
really?
first.
Oh,
Yeah. No, I mean, how can I follow that? No, I mean, she's right. I mean, that's it's so important, and no matter what you do. I would say, okay, so if I have to come up with something, it's you know, life doesn't owe you anything, right? So whatever you're into, right, it doesn't matter what it is, you should give it everything you've got.
I love that.
And then, as you pointed out, James, you know, give it away, right? I mean, you know, what better than to give all your energy to something, and then to pass that on, or to just open it up so that other people can possibly, you know, feed off of that as well. And honestly, the world, you know, needs more of that. So that's why I said it doesn't matter what you're really into. It's just give it
Yeah.
everything. Yeah.
These are two caring and giving people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
They
great new
answer that
friends
like
we
that.
have.
That's a
That's right.
passion. I love that. I absolutely love it. Can we do a quick favor though? Let's remind the audience. I think that you folks would welcome some more participants in the group on LinkedIn. Is that a correct statement?
Yeah, we cherish all members.
Okay.
All members and yeah,
And you
anybody
can
who wants
come
to
as
step
you are.
up. Yeah.
And how would they find it? What's the easiest way when they go in that search engine up there? What should they punch in?
So you can type in, you know, you can type in a hashtag, right? PSMS, and when it filters, it should look for the groups. So you should be able to filter out groups. Or you can look up Pipeline Safety Management System, and again pull up groups. You can look up certainly my name or Ashley's name, and there'll be a way to get to the group that way for
I
sure.
have an
We'll help
idea
you find your
also.
way.
Yeah, Ashley will put it down in the comments, won't you, Ashley? I know she will.
Oh, wait.
Aw.
All
I
right.
bet we can link it just straight. I'm sure we
There you
can make
go.
it happen.
Is that at me, Ashley, or?
Yes, all
there,
of the above. Anyone,
Okay.
all the
All
Ashleys.
right.
Yes.
Well, we
Awesome.
can put in the comments.
One of us will do
We
it.
have an Ashley too that is instrumental behind the scenes. I think she's gonna throw that
Okay.
link in there. So,
All right. Awesome.
hey,
We'll do it.
I can't thank you guys enough for the time. I know you all are really busy. I personally am very proud to be a member of the group. I'm still learning
Thank you.
each and every day, and thank you for all that you do for us.
Thank you.
No,
Back at you
thank
guys.
you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really. Yeah, absolutely.
Have a great day,
All right.
everybody. We'll see you next time on Coffee, Jim and James. Thanks, guys.